Hello, hello.
Welcome to our Valentine's Day service. And so it is so good. Anybody liking this little chair setup today? It's looking a little different. I'm going to be moving side to side, looking side to side. And so it's so good to see everybody. Just before we get into anything, you guys might have seen that we are having some special events coming up very soon. And so somebody say next week for me. All right, next week, we are having our Encounter the Block party, and every single time we've had one, it's been a blast, it's been awesome, and so here, I'm not gonna spoil anything, but youth, you're gonna have your own section, it's gonna be awesome. Just make sure you're here, make sure you invite your friends, make sure you come, it's gonna be amazing. Plus, the week after, we got Encounter Conference happening. It's gonna be the biggest event of the year. If you have not signed up, sign up today, please. It will sell out. We are taking over Robert Morgan High School, and we're gonna get 800 people in that building. I believe it. It's gonna be incredible. You're not gonna wanna miss it. We got speakers that are gonna blow your mind. Plus, we got What Up RG giving us a concert on one of the nights. And so you're just not gonna wanna miss out at Encounter Conference. Sign up at encountermiami.com. It's gonna be amazing. But how's everybody feeling? Happy Valentine's Day week. Everybody doing good? Anybody celebrated Valentine's Day this Tuesday? A couple of you guys? All right. Who didn't celebrate Valentine's Day this upcoming Tuesday? All right, that's okay. All right, so you guys can see this is a little bit different than what we normally got going on. We said, hey, we're not gonna be on the stage today, but I'm gonna actually have some of my incredible friends, some of your friends, some incredible students here at Calvary. Come on, if you love these guys, can you make some noise real quick in the room? What's up, guys? I'm so happy I got my friends up here, and I love you guys so much. And so before I go into anything, I would love for you guys real quick to just let everybody know who you are. You can say your name, how old you are, how long you've been coming to Calvary Youth, and just so everybody could get to know you just a little bit more, just in case they don't. So we'll start right over here.
Hi everyone, my name is Akia.
What's up, Akia?
So happy to finally be graduating, and I've been coming to Calvary since in 7th grade. So
7th grade.
Yeah,
That's
been
awesome.
quite a while.
That's awesome.
So hey everybody, my name is Jasmani. I'm a 10th grader, and I've been coming to Calvary since 6th grade, so about 5 years now.
Let's go. Come on.
Hello, my name is Dylan, and I've been coming to Calvary Youth since 6th grade as well.
6th grade. Come on.
Hey, my name is Cheeky, and I've been coming to Calvary since 5th grade. So yeah.
Hey, we got a bunch of Calvary Youth legends in here. Anybody else been coming since like 5th or 6th grade? Anybody been coming since 5th or 6th grade? You can raise your hand real quick. Couple of you guys. I love it. I love seeing, I think one of my favorite things is we got some leaders that are now youth leaders now that they started when they were in 6th grade, and I got to see them grow up from 6th grade to being youth leaders. It's the coolest thing in the world. And so now to see them 6th grade, 7th grade, now on here on this panel with me, it's so much fun. But we're going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about relationships. We're going to talk about friendships. We're going through a series called It's Complicated. And so how many of you guys can agree, and we talked a little bit about it last week, we went through a message called Help Me Uncomplicate My Complicated Relationships. Anybody was here last week, got to learn a little bit about how to uncomplicate some of those complicated relationships. I know it's a tongue twister, but I really believe that God did not create us. God did not save us to just have an incredible relationship with Him. But I believe He's created us, He saved us to have great relationships across the whole board. With everybody around you, with your friends, with your family, with your parents, with your siblings, with everybody that comes across your path. And so we're gonna talk a little bit about that today. But as it is Valentine's Day service, I think it's important that we go ahead and we start off with some relationships. Actually, Dylan, I know you're single. You're single in the room. Come on, where are my single people at? Dylan, if you were to give your best pickup line right now, what would it be?
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready.
You remind me of golden hour, the way you shine.
We can drop the mic for that one. I loved it. Yasmiani, you're in a relationship. Tell me the pickup line you used to get a Kia.
So this is kind of odd, but I texted her. I got her number. I texted her, and I said, "Hey, who is this?" She responded.
Hey, got it like that.
It worked.
Just like that.
Been together for 3 years.
It worked. So we're gonna talk a little bit more about it, but I think it's been 3 years dating? 3 years dating, and that's all it took. That's all I'm gonna say. Okay, to the girls. If you could have one Valentine's Day gift, what would it be?
Okay, so for me, I'm not really a gift person. I'm all about the experience.
Okay,
So,
okay.
take notes here. I'm expecting an amazing adventure somewhere. Maybe the beach since we're in Miami. Maybe a nice little dinner, some food. I love food. I'm a big foodie, so yeah, that's probably.
I love it. I love it. I love it. Hey, all fellas, you should be taking extra notes right now. That's it's gonna help you out. Cheeky, if you could have one Valentine's Day gift, what would be the best Valentine's Day gift this year?
So I'm not a very affectionate person.
That's okay.
And so what I would choose is like IKEA, like a beach. Nothing too romantic, just just chilling.
Just
day
a vibe.
together, yeah.
Just
quiet,
trying to create a vibe. I
not
love
too
it.
loud.
I love it. I love it.
Chocolate, a lot of chocolate.
I love it. A lot of chocolate.
Yes, a lot of chocolate.
Anybody chocolate over flowers? Flowers over chocolate?
Flowers.
Flowers
yes.
over chocolate? Fellas, take notes. You got to see who's got their hand raised, see who wants flowers, who wants chocolate. It'll bless you, I promise. All right, cool. So let's talk about relationships for a moment. And so if you guys didn't know, Akia and Yasmiani have been dating for 3 years. 3 years, it's crazy. I love them. And as they were talking about, they've been here since 6th and 7th grade. So they've been here for a long time. And if I could be honest, I'm not huge on high school relationships or middle school relationships, extra not. But I do believe that there's something special over you guys where you guys serve well. You guys love people well. You guys carry culture from the minute that you guys walked in. I don't know how many times Akia's won a giveaway here at Calvary Youth because she is always here. She is always ready. And I just think there's something special about when a couple actually encourages each other to go to church, encourages each other to serve, encourages each other to be a part of something bigger than themselves. And I believe it's something that you guys are a part of. And I don't want to talk too much about this subject, but I would love to hear from you guys. What has probably been, for somebody that's like, hey, I want to be in a relationship or I'm in a relationship, what do you guys think is probably been the most important thing to keep you guys grounded here in church, to keep you guys living a life that's saying, hey, we want to live a life that's pure. We want to live a life that's holy. We want to live a life that is for Jesus. What would you guys say is probably the most important thing on that sense?
So at least for me, I think, or for both of us, I think the most important thing that we can have is like an older couple that guides us like through what we're supposed to do. So we talked to Tyler and Arnold here. They just had a baby here in church.
Oh, come on. I love them.
They're
Shout out to
amazing
Tyra
leaders.
and Arnold.
They're amazing leaders, but they kind of talk us through like how it is to be in a relationship so young. So I think it's very important that you have older people that you can look up to and you can learn from their mistakes to keep you like grounded in church.
I love that. I love that. That is so
Definitely
special.
The same thing, like as he just said, having someone that you can look to and be like, this is what I want to try to base my relationship off of, and just having like a guideline, because honestly we are very young, we don't know what we're doing, so I feel like having like a little guideline and like checklist of like, okay, this is what I should be doing, these are the boundaries I should be setting, this is how we make sure that we are not pulling each other away from God, but instead allowing for each other to have a closer relationship with God. Tyra and Arnold, they're literally amazing, as we've already said. They've given us so much advice, and I honestly love them. And I definitely, if you guys are in a relationship and you want to keep it holy and godly and all of that type of stuff, definitely look for someone that can give you that advice that you need. So,
I love that. I love that. Even as I met my wife after high school, but it was something that immediately we're like, hey, we need people that we can go to and talk to about these things. Because again, I was 19 or 20 years old. My wife was 18 or 19. And it was one of those things that's like, yeah, we absolutely know nothing. And so let's get around some people that can pour into our relationship, that can pour into our marriage, that can say, maybe you're doing this wrong. Why don't you go ahead and speak into this? So I love that you guys are going into that and saying, hey, we're not perfect, but we're going to get around some people that know a little bit more than we do, because we want to live a life that's pure. We want to live a life that is pleasing to Jesus. We want to live a life that is building church, that is building all that God has called you guys to do. And I love to see you guys serve here on Fridays, serve on Sundays. Seriously, you guys make my heart so happy. I love you guys so much. Seriously, one more time. Can we make some noise for them real quick? They're awesome. All right, one more time. Where are my single people in the room? Okay. That's good. All right, so I got some single people right next to me as well. And I think sometimes we can get so caught up in I want a relationship, and I want to be in a relationship so bad, and I just need to be in a relationship, so everything I do is to try to get a girlfriend. Everything that I could do is just try to get a boyfriend. And I think that there's a blessing in being single, especially at your guys' age. Because at your guys' age, it's like, hey, I'm trying to figure myself out. I'm trying to figure out who I am. I'm trying to figure out what I really like. I'm trying to figure out who the person that God has called me to be. And sometimes when we try to rush into things so much, when we try to rush into things so fast, we end up missing out on blessings that God is saying, hey, I just want you to wait on these things. And so I want you guys to speak on this for just a moment. What do you guys think is the blessing of being single at this age, and what you can learn and grow while you are single in high school and middle school?
So as the youngest in my family, I've seen all of my older siblings, well, only 3 of them, get in and out of relationships, and I've been able to learn from what not to go into and what to go into. And I find the blessing in my freedom of being able to not being bound by someone here on earth, but having freedom in God, having Him 24/7, not having to rely on someone here that really can't give me what my soul needs, and it just gives me time to focus on God, to focus on who I'm meant to be in Him.
That's great. I love that. I love that.
So, for the blessing of being single, I would say like being able to spend more time with God, getting to grow in your relationship with God, letting Him continue to move, work within you before you're even able to like give time to someone else. So that's what I would say.
Right. So. I love that. I love that you said that. And that even goes on a biblical principle. The Apostle Paul, who wrote most of the New Testament, he says, hey, it's actually better that you're single. Because in the time of singleness, which we try to always want to skip so fast, it's in that time of singleness that's like, hey, I actually have a little bit more time than I'm ever going to have in my life. In this time, hey, what if I decided to chase after Jesus more than ever and be the person that He's calling me to be? What if in this time of singleness, I could spend more time in that Word, the time that I would normally be on a date? Hey, I'm actually going to be in prayer. I'm going to get around some connect group leaders. I'm going to get around some people that are going to pour into me. And so the fact that you said that, I think is so huge. I remember looking back, it's like, man, I don't even have a job. Like, I can't even afford a girlfriend right now. And so, yeah, a lot of you guys, like, get a job first, you know? But I think there's a beauty in being single. There's a beauty in being in that season. And so if you're in this room, and most of you guys said you're single, and that's okay. Like, don't despise it. Don't take that and be like, man, like, I just need to get in a relationship. It's okay. In this season, how can you chase after God like never before? I do want to talk more than just romantic relationships. I want to talk more than just your normal boyfriend and girlfriend talk, even though it is Valentine's Day. Because just like we talked a little bit about last week, our relationships, they're complicated. A lot of our relationships are complicated. If we go around this room and we talk about families, if we talk about friends, if we talk about our parents, our relationship with our parents, our relationship with our siblings, sometimes a lot of us can be like, it's complicated and it's not easy and it's tougher than you think it is, and it's tougher than you could ever imagine. What do you guys think are some of the things that complicates most relationships in our life?
Okay, so for me, the things that have complicated relationships in my life, although it's like very silly looking back at it now, it's my communication skills.
Wow.
I'm actually very bad at communicating, and sometimes I just like to believe that people can read my mind, and I forget that they're also human and they're not God who actually knows my thoughts and stuff.
That's so true.
So I forget to tell people exactly what I'm feeling. I like to keep it inside, and during this season, I've learned the importance of communicating.
Wow.
I've learned how important it is to actually open up, because if not, you keep a lot of anger and bitterness and sadness inside, and it honestly hurts you. So definitely communicating, first of all, it helps you, helps yourself grow. And it also builds trust in the relationship too. Make sure that when you are opening up to someone, make sure that they are someone that you can trust, and don't just open up to anyone. Because there are other people out here that don't have your best interests at heart. So definitely it does build trust, and it does cultivate your growth too.
I love that. I love that. I don't know if you wanted to share on that as well.
So for me, the problem that I faced in relationships and friendships is that I would feel like I would be so much devoted to them where I would forget my alliance with God. And then I would kind of put God to the side, like they're here right now. Like, I could just talk to them. I could have fun with them. I could laugh with them. Like, what's the problem? And then I would slowly get my joy taken away from me. Not because of anything that, like, the person here, no, it would be my fault that hey God, like, I forgot about you because, you know, they seem fun. They're friendly. Like, come on, they're my friend. There's no hurt in that. But it slowly takes away your joy, and I forget about God. So I have to find a balance between hey, yeah, you're my friend, but God comes first.
I totally agree. And I think sometimes, and you were talking about communication, and we're talking about community. I think who we have in our life is so important. The people that we surround ourselves in our life is vital. There's an old saying that you've probably heard from your parents, your grandparents, anybody around you that says, hey, who you're around is who you become, right? And it's one of those things like, Mom, shut up. Like, you don't know what you're saying. But it's actually, the more that I've grown older, is true. Because who we surround ourselves around ends up becoming what we do. Who we surround ourselves around becomes what we say. The conversations that we're having are not the same if I'm around some godly people rather than some people that are not godly. If my friends all want to party, guess where you're going to end up? At a party. And so you guys have been in church for so long. You guys have been in church 6th grade, 5th grade, 7th grade. How do you feel like church has cultivated and created relationships in your life that you guys feel like are so valuable and cultivated relationships to what you need?
So I've been coming here for quite a while, and I can honestly say, like, when I look at people in here, I can see that a lot of people here have like God in their mind. Like, you know, like God is at the forefront of their life, especially our leaders and like our connect groups. Like we can really like communicate with them about God, but outside of church, it's really hard to find like a real Christian, like a Christian who truly believes in what the Bible says. So I think it's better that we cultivate relationships here in our church with people that we can trust, like our leaders and our connect group friends. Because if not, we're gonna end up like being pulled out of church. You know, like all your friends, if they're outside of church, of course, they're gonna be wanting to do something else that's not godly. So they're gonna drag you away from the church. You know, you're never gonna have time to be here if all your friends are outside.
That's so true. That's so true.
All right. To add on, it's pretty much the same thing. Like, I would say, you know, like having relationships or friendships in church is just, I don't know, I really enjoy it. Like, I like it because you got people around you that are chasing after the same thing.
Yeah.
You got people that are chasing after Jesus, and you all got that love for God. So like, there's no distraction, you know, and I guess that's it. Like,
I love that. And I think who we surround ourselves is so important. But here's what I think is also happening in the world that we're living in, where we're living in a social media directed life, where social media is taking over everything that we perceive, everything that we see, everything that we do. And so we can have the best of friends or we can have the worst of friends, but yet social media is saying, hey, relationships should look like this. Hey, this is what you should be doing. And so we actually pay more attention to what social media influencers are doing, to what people's highlights are actually looking like. And it's like, man, you know what? I actually have all these false expectations on friends and on family because look at how much they travel. Look at what they're doing. Look at what that boyfriend gifted that girlfriend. Like, why am I not getting these sort of gifts? And our social media lives are it's so influential on what we do, on what we say, on everything that's around us, that it's actually distorted our relationships in our life as well. And so I would love to see from you guys, how does social media affect the way that you perceive relationships in your own life?
So I view social media, but I feel like other people view social media and the standards, like how you said, how other people put standards on their relationships, how they do their relationships, and we try to implement what they do in their relationships into our relationships, and it just doesn't end up working out because you end up to realize that that's their relationship and this is your relationship. There are two completely different relationships. There are different relationships that God has given to you, and whenever God gives us something and we try to implement something that someone else does, we end up ungrateful because we're putting our own 2 cents in when God's like, here, no, I want it to be like this, put it like this, leave it like this, and you just keep trying to mess with it, and it's never gonna end up working out.
I love that.
So yes, like social media has a huge influence on like everybody who we're around. And I think like the way that we perceive relationships is kind of so fake now because social media sees it as, you know, every friend has to be perfect. They have to have your same ideas. They have to agree with you on everything. But I'll tell you right now, like any relationship that you have, you're always gonna have disagreements. You're always gonna argue about something and it's never gonna be perfect. So I think like nowadays, a lot of younger kids are seeing social media and they're seeing relationships on social media and they're comparing their lives to that. And they'll see like, oh, my girlfriend, yeah, she doesn't do this for me. I need to break up with her. And I think it's like, let us like so unsensitized
So
to like
true.
what relationship is and like what love is that we don't understand it anymore because of
Yeah.
social media.
That's so true. That is so true. Did you want to add on to that?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What I think about it is that I feel like social media can be so deceiving because people only post the good, the rainbows, the sunshines, but they don't see the flaws of that relationship. So it's not all rainbows and sunshines.
Right, it's so true. And I really hope everybody is leaning in and taking notes if you guys can, because these are peers your own age, people that are in your schools. It's like, hey, nobody here is perfect, but we are following the one who is. And so, hey, we're all talking about things that are real life, things that we're going through. And we're talking about things even like social media right now. And here's the thing, I think one of the effects of social media, to just kind of add on to that, I believe social media has made so many of us insecure. So social media has made so many of us insecure in the way that we look, in the way that we speak, because we don't look like somebody else, we don't act like somebody else, and our own insecurities, even the insecurities of the people around us, they actually affect our relationships. And I believe a lot of our insecurities are complicating some of the relationships in our life. And so I don't know if you guys want to speak on this for a moment, but how do you feel like insecurities in your life have maybe affected relationships in your life, or what they've meant to you, things that insecurities have kind of done in your own life? If you anybody want to speak into that.
So for me is I try to do the best I can for someone, be the best person that I can be for someone.
Right.
And I feel like anytime I fall short of my own standard for myself, like, yeah, like I messed up, like they're not gonna want to be my friend anymore, they're not gonna want to be known with me, like I that's my insecurity when it comes to friendships, is I feel like I could do so much more, and the moment that I fall short of that, like, it's over.
Wow.
But then I've come to realize that it's actually not like that, because if they're your real friend, they'll help you out of that.
That's
If
right,
they're your
that's
real
right.
friend,
Come
they'll
on.
take your insecurity
That's great.
and help you with it.
That's great.
So another way like how insecurities can affect our life is that because of our insecurities, we try to bring others down. Like,
Right.
I'm a very competitive person and a very like jealous person over things. So I feel like sometimes, especially for me, whenever I'm doing a sport or whenever I'm talking with somebody, I always feel like I have to be better than them. And that's like an insecurity within myself. You know, I get jealous over small things. So that like sometimes it can bring you to like try to take people down with you. You know, like if you feel insecure, they have to be insecure so you feel better about themselves. And that can just ruin your relationships. That can ruin your entire life, basically.
Right, right. Yeah, our insecurities, they get the best of us. As a matter of fact, I think it even goes beyond that sometimes, where our insecurities lead us to isolate ourselves, where we stop talking to our Connect Group leaders, we stop talking to people around us, we stop seeking good community. We're just like, hey, you know what? I'm either just not going to talk to anybody at all, and so we're bottling in all of our emotions, we're bottling in everything that we're feeling. It's the reason why I believe our generation is known as probably the loneliest generation, probably the most insecure generation, probably the generation that has isolated themselves the most, because we've put ourselves in a place where we've let our insecurities battle us so long, and we're just saying, hey, I'm just better off isolated. I'm better off not talking to anybody. I'm better off just keeping it to myself. If we're being honest, a lot of us have been there. It's like, hey, I'd rather just be in my room. I'd rather just lock myself in my room, not talk to anybody, rather just be there. And isolation is a tactic that the devil wants you to be in. Like, he wants you to be isolated. He wants you to be by yourself, because it's in that moments when you're by yourself that he can say, hey, I could tell you whatever I want. But when you're around some godly community, when you're around some people that love you, they say, hey, you don't need to be that person. You are more than a conqueror. Hey, Jesus, he loves you. You're a masterpiece. He created you. I don't know what anybody's told you in this room, what insecurities have led you to do, led you to be. You don't need to isolate yourself. But for somebody that has isolated themselves, what do you guys feel like is the cost of isolating yourself?
Well, first off, I just want to start it off with a Bible verse that I have, and it's Ecclesiastes 4:9-12, and it says, 2 are better than one, because
That's right.
they have a good return of their labor. If either of them falls down, one can help the other up. But pity anyone who falls and has no one to help them up. Also, if 2 lie down together, they will keep warm. But how can one keep warm alone? Though one may be overpowered, 2 can defend themselves. A cord of 3 strands is not quickly broken.
That's right.
And I feel like this verse really explains how Jesus meant for us to be in relationships. It
Right,
does not have
right.
to be a romantic one.
That's so
It
true.
does not have to be the most perfect relationship ever, but we're not meant to be alone. that is one thing that we should all get into our heads today. If you're isolating yourself, if you think that you're better off alone and think that that you shouldn't be around people, that's a lie from the devil. He's trying to speak to you and bring you down and keep you alone, because he knows that when you are alone, he can come into your head, he can tell you all those lies. So yeah.
So good.
No, I think you said it all. That was awesome.
Yeah, so crazy the different things that can cause you to isolate yourself. A lot of times it's because of something that you did that you're ashamed of, maybe. A lot of times it's because of something that you feel about yourself, but a lot of times it's also because somebody hurt you. Somebody hurt you and you're just like, hey, I've been hurt by this person, and so you know what, everybody else around me is just gonna hurt me too. And it's a terrible place that we could put ourselves in, and that's when we end up carrying unforgiveness. But I would love to hear from any of you, is there ever a time that you had just trouble forgiving somebody in your life? Somebody that maybe hurt you, somebody that did wrong to you? What did that look like for you guys? How did you uncomplicate that? What did that look like for you?
Well, I don't know. It was, wait. All right, for example, look, this week, it was hard for me to unforgive even as simple as a teacher. And it brought like a lot of bitterness. It brought like a lot of just confusion. Like, what did I do to deserve that? And it just made me want to go against that person. It's like, I should like forgive them like Jesus did for me.
Wow.
So, like, why am I holding on to something that I shouldn't even be holding on to? So.
That's so true. That's so true.
Okay, and with me, this one's kind of a touchy topic for me because it is something that I'm still trying to figure out and work through.
Wow.
A little backstory: my dad's in the military. I don't get to see him as much, but when he is home, he has a drinking problem. Give me a second. As I said, this one was a touchy subject for me. Okay. Anyways, if you guys know someone who is constantly under the influence, it could be of anything. You know that they're not always in their right mind, so it could be very hard. Oh my gosh. One second. Anyways, it can be very hard to formulate a healthy relationship, especially when you're trying to talk to the person. Their mind is occupied and consumed with something else, and it's honestly something I'm trying to work on because I built up such a strong hatred for my dad. And oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I think the reason why it's so hard for me to talk about right now is because I'm the type of person that likes to keep everything inside. I like to believe that I can fix everything and that I can be myself's own savior in a way. And I need to start placing my faith into God, into this. And that's what I'm trying to learn in this season, that I can't forgive on my own time. Right. It's definitely something, as I said, I've been working on for a very long time. And it was actually during the fast that I started realizing that there's also stuff that I need to work on in myself too. Because, for example, although my dad is in the military and he's gone, when he is home, instead of me spending time with him, my mind is occupied with, he did this to me and he made me go through this and yada, 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 that I'm opening the door for him to find I'm opening the door for him to go back to what he finds comfort in. And so I've realized that I also have to be the better daughter too, and basically be someone that he can lean on, show him the love of God and all of that. Something that's also helped me a lot is realizing that he is human, that no one is perfect at all. And I feel like sometimes when you look at your parents, you're like, they're supposed to be perfect. I mean, obviously they're the ones that brought you onto this earth and all of that, but realizing that they're not perfect, that they have their own traumas, and there's also stuff that they're dealing with inside, really is helping me at the moment. A Bible verse that I always remember is when God was on the cross and he was dying, and they were all torturing him and telling him all these stuff and all of that. And one of the Bible verses, and I wrote it down too, it is, Father, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And it's in Luke 23. It's Luke chapter 23, verse 24. There you go. And basically, I just remind myself that even when my dad is under the influence of alcohol, that he is not in his right mind. He doesn't know exactly. I mean, he does know, but he doesn't have full control of his mind. And that's even why in the Bible too, why it tells us not to do drugs. Well, it doesn't tell you not to do drugs, or it doesn't tell you, but it is inferred that you should not do that, because when you are under the influence, you don't have control of your mind. So definitely, as I said, unforgiveness is something I'm really trying to work on right now. I've been talking to my leaders once again. That's why your leaders are so amazing.
That's so right.
It's also nice to know that there's also people around you that are going through the same exact situation and they have the same life story as you. So definitely, if you have something that you're holding on to and you need to let go of it, talk to someone. Don't keep it in. It becomes hard to carry all by yourself.
So true.
And now that I'm letting it go, I feel so much better. Me saying this right now, if I had done this a couple years ago, you would have never known. But definitely, if you have something that you want to talk about, something that you're holding on to, today is the day. Let it go. Tell someone about it. Make sure that there's someone that you can trust. Your leaders are the best place to start off. And yeah, sorry for that. But yeah.
I want to thank you for being so vulnerable, for sharing what's on your heart. Because I think a lot of times we could hear something like this, we could hear talk about forgiveness, and it's just like, oh, so how's it supposed to be? It's just supposed to be one moment to the next, and it's just forgiveness, and that's it? It's like, no, sometimes it's a bit of a process.
It's a long process.
And trusting, hey, God, I can't do this on my own, but God, I know that you're doing it with me. I'm going to surround myself around godly leaders. I'm going to surround myself around people that can pour into me, and we break this together. We forgive together. And so I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing on that. And so we're just about out of time. And so I'm going to ask one last question. But you guys have been in church. You guys have been following Jesus for a while. How does following Jesus change the way all relationships happen in your life? How does it change? How does it influence? How does it impact? Maybe somebody just started following Jesus. Maybe somebody in this room is like, hey, I don't know Jesus. But having a relationship with Jesus changes everything. Where we can't just live like everybody else. We can't love like everybody else. We can't lie like everybody else does. We can't live the same way that everybody else in the world is living, because Jesus has changed our life. Jesus has transformed our life. Jesus has absolutely done the impossible in our life. And there's a way to it where now it's like, hey, I have to treat my relationships different. I have to treat my parents different. I have to treat my friends different. I just want to ask you guys, for anybody that doesn't want to share on this, but how does having a relationship with Jesus affect all your relationships across the board?
I think it changes everything. Like from the people you hang out with to even the words that you say.
Right.
I think like the second you become a Christian, you become aware of all the sins that you've committed. You know,
right.
Like all the things that you've done in your past. And now, like as you're moving on into new relationships with more godly people, you have to always think about, like, you always have that thought in your mind: I have to be better. I have to be a better Christian.
Right.
I have to be a better Christian. I have to believe and I have to do what the Bible says. So I think that, like, across the board, it affects everything. All your relationships with your old friends, with your new friends, with everybody that you meet, you want to come across as a Christian, like, you know, like as somebody who welcomes them, who loves them, who forgives them. And I think that's like the best way that becoming Christian or Christianity plays into all your relationships.
I love that. I love that.
I find it a privilege to be able to know God at such a young age and to implement it with all of my relationships, to be able to help my friends out whenever they're struggling, to be able to show Jesus' love to them like how we're called to do. And it's beautiful to see the outcome of it. And I see it every day, and it's amazing. So get in your word. If you have a friend that's struggling with something, I encourage you to learn more about God, to how you could spread his gospel to them so that they may feel his love in their life and that they may show it to other people and have a testimony out of it.
I love that. One time, can we make some noise for every single student that was on this panel? Can we stand up to our feet for a moment? Hey, thank you guys so much. I love you guys so much. Thank you for being so vulnerable. I believe that tonight was powerful. One time, can everybody stand up to their feet for just a moment? Can we make noise one more time for everybody that joined over here? I'm gonna ask, we're gonna have a team that's gonna come and take these chairs, but I'm gonna ask if everybody could just join me up to the front. I'm gonna hop on the stage real quick. Ask if we could dim the lights just a little bit. If everybody could just make their way down this way. for just a moment. You get out of your rows. You can come up right to the front. Hey, if you are talking in this moment, I'm gonna ask if you could just not talk for just a moment. I believe this right here is probably the most important part of our just what we do on a Friday night and the reason why we do it. And so if you guys want, you guys could just come just a little bit closer this way. But as you were hearing maybe the stories of somebody in this room, maybe you're in your own heart, you're having trouble forgiving somebody. Maybe you're in your own heart, your relationships might be complicated with friends, with siblings, with parents. And you're just like, hey, I don't know how to deal with it. And so I do want to pray for just a couple people in the room. And so first, I want to pray for somebody in this room that your relationships in your life are a mess. This is across the board. This could be with parents, this could be with friends, this could be with siblings. I'm gonna ask if we could dim these lights just a little bit if possible. These lights are just a little bit bright in my face, but I'm gonna ask if everybody could just come just a little bit closer. If there's some space around you, come just a little bit closer. But maybe you're in this room. You're like, hey, my relationships right now, they're a mess. Relationships with friends, my relationship with parents right now. Some of you don't even want to speak to your parents, and you just wish that, hey, you got the validation from your parents that some of your friends get. Maybe some of you guys don't have the friendships that you wish that you had. Maybe your relationship with your siblings. Maybe it's with an aunt, with an uncle. Maybe you're just having trouble just overcoming something that somebody has done in your life, and you're hearing some of these stories and saying, hey, I'm hearing Akia as she talks about forgiving her father. Hey, that's me. Even in my own life, I had trouble forgiving my own father growing up. I had trouble with my father walked away when I was about 8, 9 years old. He went all the way to California. He had a bad drug addiction, and he said, hey, I can't have my son seeing this. But growing up as a 9-year-old kid, you ask yourself, hey, why does my father not here? And I'm blessed. I grew up with an incredible stepdad, but you can be in the room and say, hey, I'm still holding on to some bitterness.